Good morning, good morning, everybody. Well, first of all, let me apologize for the late start. I know we left the inspirational segment a while ago, but like I said, I had to transition. I had to move the show from inside to the outside, and therefore there were some technical things that needed to be taken care of so that we can ensure that all is well. All right, so we're ready to go. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming in. Uh, Send the word around. Let the people know that the In Perspective show is on, and we're rocking and rolling. This morning, the temperature. Yeah, somebody's asking me about the temperature. The temperature here in New York City is what? I don't even know right now. 52 degrees. It's still chilly. It's still chilly here in New York City. Um, Still, I think today or tomorrow should be the last day of. Is it the last day of spring? I'm not even know. I'm not too sure what's going on right now. I'm in a different space. Um, but we are happy to be on the air, and we're happy to have your company this morning. Like I said, we're gonna have a nice little sit down with a wonderful lady this morning, a wonderful member of parliament, and she hails from, of course, my hometown, Bartica. Yeah, I spent a number of years living on the east coast of Demerara and on the west coast of Demerara. But I am, like I always say, I am a Bartitian and I'm proud to be a Bartitian. I am Guyanese and proud, but more foremost, I am Bartitian and absolutely proud. So our guest is from Bartica this morning. But before we get to the guest, I have some serious things to bring to your attention. I don't know, understand why to this day and age, my Guyanese compatriots are not taking this COVID 19 thing seriously. Listen, it has come very close to me. I have lost a friend, a long standing friend, to what I understand is the COVID 19 virus. And it hurts, it pains. I am sitting here. Last night, I spent the night reflecting on how my friend, the other half of the one who has passed, is coping with this loss. And I don't understand why we have got to put other family members through this kind of thing. Why is it we've got to put friends through this thing? Why is it we so careless? Why is it that we so selfish? Some people are still telling you all these cock and bull stories, but people telling you about the pushing, chipping you on this. Listen, people, get real, get serious. This COVID 19 thing is ridiculous and it's extremely serious. It knows no race, it knows no nationality, it knows no color, it knows no texture of hair, it knows no religion, it knows no personality, it knows death. And it's going to come to carry you right there. So please, if the vaccine is available to you, I'm going to get into the vaccine situation some more a little later on. But if it's available to you in Guyana, take it. Hey, go take the vaccine. Good. All right. So listen. We're ready to rock and roll. Our guest this morning is JURETHA, the Honorable uh, JURETHA Fernandes. I am saying Fernandes. She's going to correct me if I'm saying the wrong thing. Member of Parliament, Bartitian and proud, I suppose. And I'm happy to have her in the seat of the guest this morning. JURETHA, good morning and welcome to the In Perspective show. I think you're muted.
Good morning, Mr. Bork. It's nice to be here. Thank you for having me this morning.
Yeah, you're welcome. I have been looking forward, um, eagerly looking forward to have you as a guest on the show for a little while now. But I understand that we were playing dodgeball, but I'm I'm happy that the dodgeball period is up. And I know that you had some house housekeeping duties to take care of. We want to thank you for setting aside this time of the morning when it's really busy on housewives and wives and mothers generally, to sit down with us and have a little discussion. Um, it, it, it is good that we can have young uh, energetic members of parliament in our house representing the Progressive Party, um, not the People's Progressive Party, the Progressive Party in Guyana. And like this, young people like yourself, I I have done a little bit of research and realized that you sit on the Public Accounts Committee. Some people, well, listen, the funny thing about Guyanese, at home and in the diaspora, lots of us do not take the time to understand what our parliament really does. Sometimes some of us don't take the time to understand what our parliamentarians do in parliament. We just go and say, oh, JURETHA Fernandes, she's a member of parliament, she's on the Public Accounts Committee. What does the Public Accounts Committee do? Well, nobody really knows. So I would be happy for us to be given a little bit of insight uh, as to what you do as a member of the Public Accounts Committee, or what the Public Accounts Committee is really responsible for in our country.
Generally, Rickford, I don't remember. Yes, but generally persons are not too interested in too much compounded details. That's why people don't get into it a whole lot. Now, the Public Accounts Committee, we call the PAC, is one of the most, well, should be one of the most vibrant committees in Parliament, because that committee basically is responsible for oversight of government spending. So as we all know, that the government would come to the house and they would present a budget, and at the end of it the budget is passed and they would be asking for X amount of money to do whatever. The PSC now is responsible for the oversight of how those monies are being spent. So at a government level, you would know that a lot of persons would know that the permanent secretary, the PS as we call them, of the various ministries would be in charge of looking after the administrative mandate of how monies are spent that have been allocated to the various ministries. Now the PAC, what the PAC does, the PAC is responsible now for, like I said, oversight. So what the PSC does is call in these persons when we are looking at the budget, for example, when well, I'll get into all that's happening now with the PAC. But for example, we're looking at the 2016 budgetary period, and what we have to do now is to calling all the permanent secretaries for the various ministries, and they have they are held accountable for the way in which the monies were spent during that period of time. So we all know that we have government ministers, but ministers are not, they're not the persons that are responsible for how monies are spent. The persons that is responsible for those checks and balances within the ministries are the permanent secretary. That's why they are called before the PAC to answer questions as to how monies were spent, why certain procedures were not followed, and so forth. So it's a very important committee altogether. But what you would know now in Guyanese, and anybody that have been paying attention for sometimes would know that we have been back and forth with the fact that the PPP now has the PPP now, they're trying to dictate who chairs the PAC. Now, one of the most important thing about the PAC is that the PAC can only be chaired by a member of the main opposition. That is the law basically governing the PAC and how it functions. And you, I believe you had a program in which you touched on it a little bit, the fact that the PPP brought a no confident motion against our chair, which is Mr. David Patterson, in which they are trying to say that, well, we have no confidence in the chair, so let's take it to a vote and let us remove him. Now what I want persons to understand about that is that the PSC as it is have 9 members, 5 members from the government and 4 members from the opposition. So anything that goes to a vote like that, the PPP already have the majority of persons there. So we went back and forth, as you knew it, and at the end of it, a legal opinion was sought by the clerk of the National Assembly. I read the legal opinion. I found it to be lacking in several regards, and I requested another legal opinion from, I think, no one, the person that would have been best to give that legal opinion would be Mr. Cameron Rambutan, simply because he has been in Parliament for almost 30 years, and not only that, he has been a part of the processes that brought us to the point we're at today, that he has been on committees that has made it law that the chair of the PAC should be a member of the main opposition. So this is somebody that sits side by side with persons like Gail Teixeira from the PPP, and they know every reason and rationale that was putting that in black and white and making it law. So he presented his legal opinion. Basically, what it said was that this motion should be null and void because the standing order says that the chair should come from the main opposition. So our chair went ahead with that opinion, and the motion was not put to a vote at the level of the PAC. But what I can tell you, Branford, is soon after, when we were supposed to meet the very next week, Parliament sent out an email saying because of COVID-19 and some measures, no committee will be meeting again until further notice. So I think they're taking some time to regroup. With no COVID is very, very, very serious. But what we can tell you is that when it comes to committees are very small, and the PAC, like 9 members spread out within the chambers of Parliament, there is no danger being put there, so to speak, because the persons are completely separated. Some persons can even join online. They can simply say, well, you know what? We don't want you there physically, so let us have this meeting done virtually. But those options have not been made available as yet, because and I don't see it going anywhere without some pressure being put again.
I'm grateful that you did go into some amount of detail there to tell us what the committee does. And for those who are watching and listening, of course, we're hearing background noise. Of course, those of you who are familiar with the show, whenever we are outside, we have to compete with the noise and the traffic and so on. So do we to just bear with the little noise coming from this end? I know it's not from your end, it's from my end, and then I have other things moving around here other than motorized vehicles in the area. So going back to the discussion, who controls the narrative? I mean, I understand that they have the majority in terms of the membership, but I would think that the chair of the committee determines what happens with the committee and when the committee meets and so on. But am I to understand that this is not just a committee decision? This is a full parliamentary notification of parliamentary decision of, and the majority in parliament, of course, is the governing party, the PPP. So that they would have decided that there's no meeting. There's going to be no meeting, right?
Well, actually, how it works, the chair does call and set the date for the meeting. However, it's not solely the chair says when the committee should meet. I'm speaking specifically to the PAC right now.
Right,
however, the clerk of the National Assembly the clerk is overall responsible for his staff. His staff has to be at these meetings and so forth to facilitate the meeting. So when those decisions are taken, I think hand in hand with the Speaker of the National Assembly, the clerk and the Speaker would have had their discussions, and they found that they were not capable, I believe. That's how it was put over, to have these physical meetings because of the COVID-19 issue. I think several persons from Parliament has been tested positive for COVID-19. So that is the explanation that was given to us. The reason, then, not the explanation.
I mean, I have seen here in America, I am aware of serious and consequential meetings of the Senate are being held virtually. So, I mean, sometimes things in Ghana baffle me to the extent that I don't understand. But you know what is most amusing? You just said that you were looking at spendings for the 2016 period.
Mm-hmm.
I would have thought that the PPP would have jumped on the opportunity after all these allegations that they've had flying around the place of misspending on the part of the AP and AFC administration. they were in power or they were in government in 2016, I would have thought that the PPP would have been happy to pounce on every opportunity that they have to force meetings that will examine the spendings of the APNU administration. So what's the hang up now? What's the bugbear? Why are they not eager to get on with it in 2016 to look at the spendings in 2016?
Because there's Branford, what happens is that the people can spew a whole lot of propaganda as to their, well, for their supporters' ears, and that's what they're pretty good at it. They're pretty good at propaganda. The propaganda machinery is A class, if you ask me. But when it comes to examining of the actual books and the numbers and so forth, those are facts. So they don't want to have any dealings with the facts put forward. And I can tell you, even during the examination of how the point in which we got to before this whole issue with them bringing a no confident motion and all of that, even at that point, a lot of things they even try to raise matters and so forth, for some of the agencies that we were looking at, some of the ministries. And I can tell you, a lot of the times when they bring some questions, I'm like, well, the PS for this time was the PS that worked under you. That's the that you're speaking about. And when you start to really push questions to the PS, then they would jump in and said, you're harassing the PS, right? Because and that's the nature of the beast when you're dealing with the PPP. The PPP does everything that they want to until they're pulled up with facts. They say whatever comes to their mind until you present facts to them, and then they back down and they say, well, I never said that. And you say, look, well, it's in the minutes, this is what you said, right? But it is what it is. We have to keep pushing forward. We can't just relax. No day they're hoping to frustrate the process, and we just can't get to that point that we're frustrated and start to act accordingly. We just got to keep the fight strong.
I realized that as a consequence uh, to your meaning the AP and UAFC's parliamentarians' attitude towards this whole process. Um, some of the parliamentarians have come under um, unnecessary harassment from members of the governing parliamentary team. And if my memory serves me correctly, I think I remember that there seems to be an ongoing feud between you and Kwame McCoy. I think he badgers you. I would call it badgering, and tries to belittle you in every which way. Um, how are you able to maintain a calm? How are you able to maintain your composure and not get too rattled so that you can be distracted by his unmannerly ploys?
Corey McCoy is who he is. He can't change. I sometimes I pity him because I don't. He has grown to accept his role as this. I don't know what to call it. He has grown to accept the role that he was put there to play, and to the point that he seems comfortable in it. He just go and he just blurts out any ridiculous nonsense out of his mouth, because his role is just to distract. If even it comes to it has to come through disrespect. And that's the position, that's the place he's at right now. He just uses every opportunity he can to disrespect, and particularly women. And we've gone through this before, but if it bothers me, no. I believe I've gotten to a point that these political back and forth, it just doesn't move you at all, because you just become immune to that type of banter altogether. You just brush it off like, oh well, he's just being who he is, and that's a very dangerous place for us to get as a society altogether, to say, well, you have to accept what is being said at the level of parliament, these comments that are being made and so forth. So with all of that, we have to keep focused, and I try my best not to be distracted by him. And I know there's a lot of persons that I was asked the question, because in my last budget presentation, I was presenting and he kept going on and on and on, and I took a 10-second pause and responded to him, and then that was all over the place. But I try not to get to that point, but sometimes it's necessary to just put a stop to it, like, you stop right here. All right, so it's a very slippery slope when it comes to not trying to compose ourselves as members of the opposition, to not get into the gutter with the comments that is coming across the room at you. But there's only so much somebody could take, and it is the responsibility of the Speaker of the House to maintain order within those chambers. So at the end of the day, he has to take responsibility for what is said within the confines of those halls. And it's difficult for me to believe that he doesn't hear all of these things. He has to be hearing what is being said all the time. So he has to put his foot down and say, well, this is not going to be acceptable, or so forth. But up
I don't know. Go ahead. Go ahead.
until then, we will try to maintain our level of professionalism. This is the highest decision making body in the country. We cannot allow ourselves to be dragged into the gutters with the with the nasty comments coming from the PPP. We have a country, the people of Guyana, to represent, and we have a responsibility also to set an example to the world that parliamentarians in Guyana, they are not just a bunch of persons you put there to scream and shout at each other. So we have to raise above, and according to the whole phrase, when they go low, we go high. We have to try our best to maintain that level of professionalism at the level of parliament. It's absolutely necessary. Guyana is on the world map like it has never been before, and persons are looking and persons are listening. We don't want it to be a clown show and a mockery when it comes to parliament and what goes on in those chambers.
What is disturbing to me is that Guyana, politics in Guyana has been degraded. It has deteriorated to such a state, or to such an extent, that people like me who've been around for a while, I mean, I've been on the earth for a little while now, are forced to wonder, where are we going to end up eventually? Now, the young minds in Guyana do not know, and it's our responsibility to teach them. But imagine Guyana's politics remove, reducing itself, or being reduced from Lyndon Forbes, Samson Bonham uh, standard. You have so many other luminaries who came through that time. Carl Greenidge came from a different dispensation. I mean, he probably would have walked with Forbes Bonham for a bit, but his tenure was more Desmond Hoyt period. And even Desmond Hoyt, those were men of class. So we have moved from a state of classy politics, where the said Gail Teixeira and them were around, to this nasty, stinking gutter politics that makes us look like a bunch of rogues, and an embarrassment in the eyes of the international community. I am wondering, with a speaker like the one that we have, what room do we have for family values to be preserved? Because, note well, I began the conversation by saying that it's good to have young people like yourself and others serving in the parliament. Your better half, I am sure, is not going to be prepared to sit by for too much longer and allow another man in my wife's or my spouse's workplace to be verbally abusing my better half all the time. It's going to eventually end up to the place where somebody decides to take their own action, and then somebody else might say, oh, we got to call the police because they got no right doing that. But then the Speaker of the House's responsibility, like you said, is to protect the people's rights, to protect the person from vultures like Kwame McCoy, who would want to display their arrogance and their abject ignorance in the parliament. So how do you folk plan to cope with this kind of thing going forward so as to prevent your spouses from getting involved in this thing?
Well, first of all, it's like this is 21st century and this is 2021, and a lot of women like myself, you because for example, I'm a single parent, so I basically deal with what I have to myself. I'm used to just taking up the mantle and just going with it and taking responsibility for my own self and and the actions of persons towards me. I deal with it by myself, and so many women today does the same thing like me. And what I can say is that gone are the days when women have to depend on men to just have their backs all together. We're out there, we're fighting. This whole concept of gender equality is just not about having equal rights, but also about having equal responsibility as well. So I take full responsibility of maintaining the respect persons have for me. That we have so many different avenues we can go through when it comes to the law and so forth. Now, but I get where you're coming from, because there are a lot of women within parliament that they're married, and they have a spouse at home that is looking and saying, well, as the head of their home, they have a responsibility to take care of this person, and how much can they accept at the level of parliament, when they expect anyone that's thinking rationally would believe that if you're any man that's thinking rationally would believe that if he sees his wife out to parliament, if he knows that's where she's going, he believes that she will be having the highest level of protection and respect in the land. So when
Hmm.
at that level it has been degraded, at that level the disrespect is coming, it leaves little to be accepted, and persons, I understand what you're saying, would want to take matters into their own hands. But I always believe that it takes the bigger mind. We have to be the people that Guyanese could look to say, this is the example that I'm going to follow. Yes, Kwame Mackay is in parliament, but let us forget that he exists in parliament. Let us pretend he is not there. Let us look to other persons in parliament. We have persons there. We have Mr. Kemraj Ramjatan. We have Mr. Harman and those persons where you would never ever hear a disrespectful word going toward any female parliamentarians from those persons. They look to uplift. They look to empower women in the National Assembly, and regardless of which side, they would not be shouting over disrespect at any of the women. They treat all women in parliament with equal respect, and that is the example that the coalition men is setting in the house. So when we have those persons, we have an option that these are the people we're going to follow. It's not like all the men in parliament have the most disrespectful behavior. It is one, two, three. I can count three of them, but I'm not even going to go into to those, because that's a whole 2-day conversation by itself, Mr. Burke. It's just three of them, to be honest with you.
I really appreciate the desire to rise above the fray. But then, one has to remember, I remember I had an interview with the Honorable Tabitha Tabitha
So,
Hali,
mhm.
and shortly thereafter there was this assault. I'm not even going to go bring myself so low to say they're alleged assault. I'm going to say they assault, because I don't see, this is me. If somebody is classy enough, well, in the eyes of the rational public, someone is classy enough, someone is honest enough, that the people would say, we want them to be in parliament to represent us at the various levels, then there's no reason for me to say that the person is dishonest enough for me to distrust a complaint that they would have made on such an issue. So I am not going to even be bothered by anybody trying to say whatever and say the alleged assault. Um, One has got to remember that parliamentarians have children. Aside from the spouses, look at the impact on the children's lives. My child goes to school, and then the child's classmates now have to be have the temerity in some cases to taunt the child. Hey, yeah, Kwame McCoy backs you mother. You know, that is rubbish. Where are we going? And I think that there's some form stand should be taken. I am making that point to segue to another point. So aside from your parliamentary responsibilities on the committee, I think, based on my understanding, you have some other responsibilities with regards to your constituencies or your constituency.
Mhm.
How do you expect your constituents, your constituency, your people who you represent, how do you expect them to react to someone disrespecting in that manner their parliamentary representative? You see, this thing can ripple and get out of hand. What do you say to your constituents to have them relax and not feel that they need to take this matter in their hands?
There's only so much that persons can can take, and I've been saying this for a while. Generally, when the issue when assault happened, and this, like you said, this is not where an accusation, it happened to be to Sarah Halley. She's a gem. She doesn't just go out there to seek. She's not an attention seeker or anything of that sort. She said it happened because it happened. And make no mistake, that's exactly what she said. That's what's transpired. No question about it. Um, what I can tell you is that the the steps taken after that was to reach out. The first thing she did was to go to the Speaker of the National Assembly, and when she and as you would all know, what transpired after is that basically no justice was given at the end of it altogether. But what I can tell you is that a lot of comments were made, and I'm speaking as a woman. I'm not just speaking as an MP. Right now, I'm speaking as a woman. A lot of comments were made, and one of the comments made, I believe, by the speaker is that he can't control persons act, what people do or say, something like that. And that couldn't be further away from the truth, because that's his responsibility in Parliament to control what persons do and say in Parliament. The complaint was made because to him because it's something that happened there, right? Now, when no justice was given, you put you force parliamentarians into a position of self-defense, and I guess this is where you're coming to, because if you seek the legal steps, which we assume to be the right way, you go to him and you expect that he will deal with it. When nothing is done, then moving forward, if a matter like that happens again, it will be MPs, and I'm speaking about MPs in general. I'm not just saying coalition MPs or government MPs. I'm saying MPs in general. This is something that happened to a member of parliament, regardless of what side of the house that member of parliament sat on. When justice is not given, it gives the impression that you have to deal with things in a in a different manner. Now, I'm not I would be the last person on Brantford to to go out there and call for persons to take matters into their own hands and do this and do that. And I'm always like that because I know when things get to that, escalate to those levels, a lot of innocent people can get caught up and get hurt because of that. So I'm always the last person. That for me, those are re- when things get to that stage, I always believe it's because people themselves do it and not necessarily your politicians or anybody guiding them down that pathway. Because as policymakers, as parliamentarians, we're there to protect and to preserve and to serve and all of those aspects. We want policies in place that would make sure that all Guyanese are safe, regardless of which political side you're on and all of that. I don't ever want to advocate at any point in time for persons to just take matters into their own hands and go out there, because what happens when those things go down like that is that you have a lot of ignorant people on the streets and so forth that uses those opportunities to just go in and do a lot of things that have no relation to the actual matter. So we don't
Hmm.
want to get to, but we, in the same, we simply cannot accept at any point in time that a member of parliament could be assaulted and nothing plays out after that. It's just something that we cannot accept. We cannot just put it down. It's not a matter that has been put down. It's not acceptable. If we're not getting it done one way, we have to do it another way. Persons need to understand that a sitting government minister assaulted a female and the government did absolutely nothing about it. No punishment of any sort was meted out from the government side. That is something that needs to be taken note of. This is something that needs everyone in Guyana needs to know. This is what the women that went out and voted for the PP, that's what they need to understand. That the PPP had a certain government minister that assaulted a woman. They did nothing. So that's what you are empowering when you go out and you cast the ballot for the people. You are empowering abuse of women. And these are the things that we need to push out there, because Guyana is a democratic society.
Hmm.
We will be going to elections again and again and again and again, because that's democracy. And these are the things that people need to understand when they're casting their ballot, when they are putting that X in that box. They need to understand this is what we're voting for. These are the people we are empowering. And you need to weigh the odds. And that's, I want Guyana, want us to get to a point in our country where we vote based on these things, based on policy, based on integrity, and move away from this whole thing that because of the color of your skin and the texture of your hair and because your grandmother used to vote like this. That's nonsense. Your grandmother voted how she voted because of the time in which she voted. This is 2021. The landscape is different. The economic makeup of our country is different today. We need to be voting for persons based on policies and programs. We need to vote for people that have respect for women. The PPP does not represent that. And that's the narrative that needs to go out into society, because it's the truth. And that's as simple as I can put it.
Well, I certainly support that, and the reason why I've made sure that I ask those questions is because um Tabitha is the person who has been assaulted. Tomorrow, well, and you are being verbally assaulted, abused as well. That's abuse. You're being verbally abused as well. The next day will be who? It might be somebody who will not tolerate it, period. And then it will spiral out of control. And then the next thing you know, Guyana ends up in some kind of civil unrest as a result of that. And people will start saying, oh, well, the people should know that this is parliament and you can expect. But that's not what parliament is for. That's why the speaker's there. The speaker's responsibility is to discipline any errant member so that nonsense that is said about he can't control. He can't decide whether another person does something, but he has control over their actions and their behavior because he has the power to discipline them. And in as far as he is failing to do so, he's complicit. You understand? But let me go back to the parliamentary functions. Now you're saying that there was an instruction or some notification that went out saying that because of the COVID-19 situation, none of the committees will be allowed to function or can function or whatever to meet rather. So then, how is it that you're exercising oversight over the government spendings in this current fiscal year?
You spoke earlier, and you mentioned the fact that we were examining the 2016 report.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, this was the coalition period, and what I wanted to tell you about that is that the reason why we're so back is because after the no confidence motion, the then chair of the PAC, which is the current president, current installed president, he decided not PSCs anymore. So that's why we have that backlog, first of all. All right. So now moving forward to your actual question is that the reason why the government, one of the main reasons why the government does not want the PAC to move forward, although we're examining the reports that from the APNU AFC's time in office, they know that when we're done with that, the faster we move with that, the faster we get to their period. The government doesn't want any oversight to their period in office. That's not something that they desire. They know what's going on. One of the first things that we have to look at is the COVID-19 cash grant and the distribution mechanism, and so forth. They don't want us to get to any of that. So they're going to do everything in their power to make sure that we don't get to that point. COVID-19 is very real. It's very dangerous, and it's not something to be played with. So you really can't go out and argue if the clerk of the National Assembly says the staff at Parliament is not capable of keeping meetings, because at the end of the day, our priority is to preserve human life. That's our greatest resource. So what needs to happen is for them to have measures in place to adapt, and like the entire world is adapting and moving forward. If we have to meet virtually, let's meet virtually, but we cannot just be holding back the work of these committees because of the pandemic. We don't know how long that is going to be. The country is going on. These ministries are working every single day. The ministry staff have to go to work. The same ministers at meeting with the PAC, we have full staffing at the ministries, persons going out there. The same ministers, if you go down breakdown, I believe you would see so many persons lined up. Ministry of Housing, a typical example, Ministry of Housing, they put out some tents in front there to make sure that they cannot accommodate the maximum amount of people going there to apply for house lots and check on their applications and so forth. So the PPP can't come and say, well, 9 persons meeting at Parliament is too dangerous for them, because they are enabling a system that they have full capacity. They're the ones that went out there and say, well, we're going to have public transportation operate at full capacity, right? So with all of those things into consideration, it is hard to see why an alternative cannot be put in place for the work of the PAC to move forward. It's not an impossibility, but it just seems as though they're just willfully not. They're just using it as an excuse not to have the PAC.
So let me understand something. If I'm to back up a little, while you are attending to the 2016 spendings, you cannot, or you're not allowed to exercise oversight over the current spendings. I mean, am I correct in my interpretation and understanding of what the role of the PSC is now?
Could you say that again?
While you're examining the 2016 spendings, do you have the authority to exercise oversight over the current spendings simultaneously?
It's not done like that. It's not done like that, Bradford. And that's why I say that it is completely holding it back. Because if it was like that, it would have been okay. But at this point, we're looking at the 2016. What we were looking to see is if we could have put a system in place to look at 2 year simultaneously at the same time, like what you're saying, but it would have been 2017, 2018 together, and then 2019, 2020 together. That was something that was being explored at the level of the PAC. But at this point in time, it was not being done like that. But you can't just skip a couple of years and come to current. You have to just move forward and get it done in an orderly manner.
Well, there are some things that are baffling me with Guyanese politics or Guyana's politics. And I think that our laws are so archaic that we are like the laughing stock of the world, the developed world. Because to me, as a person who served for a minute in the Guyana Police Force's finance um, office, to me, and I also I saw this votes clerk at Region 4 accounts units as well for a while. To me, for you to allow me to spend my current fiscal allocation without oversight, and then come 2 3 years down the line or 10 12 months down the line to look at the current spendings, is like, as the boys would say, flogging a dead horse. Because the most that you could do at that time is probably chastise somebody for spending in a manner that is considered irrational and irregular. But with the current system that is in place, if somebody misappropriates the funds, somebody on the government side, based on what we've seen happening in the past, I can almost guarantee that the system will not chastise that person, even if you decide to bring charges against them. Even if you decide to, because I understand that the Auditor General's office is also supervised by the Current Accounts Committee or something like that. If you put the Auditor General to audit a particular account so that you can move forward with legal action for criminality, the system does not allow that person, once they're on the government side, to be chastised. Once they're on this government side, to be chastised. So give me an idea of how effective the system really is with the PPP government in office.
No system is safe with the PP government in office, first of all. There's absolutely no system that is safe. The PP government operates with a lack of transparency. That's the way in which they're used to doing things, and that's the way in which they're trying to do it again. What I can tell you is that government in general is just accountable to the people. And as it is, you're right. And let me give you an example at the level of the PAC. We were examining, I believe it was the Ministry of Public Infrastructure. That's where it all got halted. 2016 report. At that time, the PS, the permanent secretary that was responsible at that particular period, was a permanent secretary that the coalition would have inherited from the PPP. Now, going into to examining those documents, that person is no longer the permanent secretary. Somebody else is there. There was somebody else that was there after, and then another somebody new, even newer, is there right now. So he would have had two persons after him in the role of permanent secretary. And coming into that meeting, he sent a letter basically because he's pretty old. So he wrote a letter saying, outlining beforehand that his memory is not too good. So when he came into the meeting, I kid you not, this is like, I can't make this up, you know? So when he came into the meeting, he was there. We asked the question, so I can't recall. I can't remember, right? So you're absolutely correct as to how much leverage is given to actually hold these persons accountable, because then there would be a whole host of issues to even get to some essence of truth and what transpired and all of that. So in short, what I can say is that we have a lot of system that needs to be fixed. We have a lot of work to do to get things fixed. In 2015, when the coalition took office, a whole lot of people, I mean, I see comments all over it, say the coalition wasn't the coalition didn't do enough to suit a lot of persons and what they wanted done. When the coalition got into office in 2015, like you and so many others would know, the amount of things that had to be changed to just reach a level of accountability in various agencies and departments and so forth. It was a whole lot. The process altogether, and lots of changes were made. At this point in time, the PP is trying desperately to undo those things because they don't want this accountable system. But guess what? The people, the public servants themselves, they got comfortable and they were happy with the changes because they benefited from those systems. So right now, they are the ones that want to hold on to it because they were happy the way it was. The system in Guyana, social media, and so forth, those things did not have any impact prior to 2015. In the 5 years the coalition was in office, everyone became informed. The whole information age was something that Guyanese really held on to. And at this point in time, every single thing you would see right now, Branford, right now, every single day, you have something that you can call the PPP out on. You know why? Because every single day they're doing some crap. And not only that, persons are aware and they are calling them out. And social media has become a platform that people utilize to make sure that everyone is aware of the nonsense that is going on. The PP is not used to that level of scrutiny, and they're going like running like headless chickens all over the place, trying to put a plaster on trying to put a plaster on every sore that they're creating. But it's not going to work. They're falling apart because Guyanese know that they are empowered and they deserve better. And this is a system that the coalition administration worked towards. We worked hard to make sure that persons understood this. Prior to 2015, people were afraid to go and talk up against the government. And let us be real about this. Let us be honest about it. Prior to 2015, no one wants to condemn the government. At this point in time, people feel that it is their responsibility to call to the government for what is to be done. These are the facts, and I want persons to understand that impact that was made in those 5 years is not just going to die out, and people are going to continue and they're going to press. And at the end of it, the coalition will be back in office. The PPP does not have what it had before. They don't have the leverage that they had before. They don't have the authority to instill fear like they did before.
I wanna ask. I have a couple more questions to ask, but I must before that I must extend the courtesy to you to ask if it's okay, because I know you have other engagements and other assignments for the day. If it's okay for us to uh, engage you for another 15 minutes.
Sure, I'm good to go.
Okay, thank you very much. Because this is getting interesting. Um, so, as far as the Public Accounts Committee is concerned, the government, what do you oversee? Just the taxpayers' dollars that are spent, or does your authority extend to all monies that are spent by government, including those received by government in the form of loans and grants from overseas agencies and organizations?
Money spent by government in general, money received by government in the form of loans and grants and those things. Those monies are also incorporated into the budget altogether. So the oversight is once government is spending money, the money needs to be accounted. It needs to be accounted for, and that's the process altogether. So almost not only that, one of the more important functions of the PAC is with regards to the Public Procurement Commission. Right now, we would know that the Public Procurement Commission, the last commission, the tenure has expired, and now we're actually looking at having for nominations for new PAC members and to come to be brought in, and the PAC deals with that also. So we have a long way to go. When the meetings are not being held, these are the things that are being held up. Very, very important things that the Public Procurement Commission. You would know that prior to the coalition government, again, there was nothing like that. There was never a formula that was accepted across the board to make sure that there was a functioning PAC in the country. Coalition is responsible for these things. The coalition was responsible for bringing oversight all together. So the PAC is not just it's not an ordinary committee. The responsibility of the PAC is far and wide. You have to go in there. I can't tell you how much reading you have to get done just to keep up to date on what is going on. You have to be comparing and contrasting various years, how it was done there, decisions made there that was torn over, that wasn't followed by the various PSs and so forth. And it's a tedious process altogether.
You know why this thing bothers me, and this is very interesting. This is most informative, especially for those persons who have a finance background and those persons who have an interest in finances. Um, First of all, I remember going back to your um, opening remarks, which um, schooled us on the fact that the accounting officer of every ministry is the PS.
Yeah.
Um, Similarly, at the local government level or the local level of government in the communities, um, you know, the NDCs and so on. In the case of the NDCs, the accounting officer is the overseer. In the case of the towns and cities, the accounting officer, I think, is the town clerk, right?
Yeah.
Now, the government, regardless of which one, but I'm going to be more specific. The PPP government have their people, and at the regional level, the accounting officer is the REO, the regional executive
Arios.
officer, not the REO. Now, they have people might not understand the system, but the party that is in government appoints the REOs of the region.
Correct.
Um, when I tendered my resignation from the NDC that I was serving at, the REO at the time, because it was the PP government was in office, the REO, for some very strange reason, because my NDC had the overseer who was the administrative officer, and we also had a finance officer who dealt with all things finances or finance. And he, for some very strange reason, instructed and insisted that I not be allowed to leave until and unless a full audit of the NDC's finances was done. And that to me was good because I am able to today proudly hold a document prepared and signed by the auditor of Region 4 at the time, who uh, was a PPP person and was sent by the PPP REO, or PPP's representative of the REO. So, and it says everything was in ship shape. So I don't have anything to worry about. But what I am bothered by is the fact that they, at the top level of government, exercise absolute control over the people under their jurisdiction to ensure that they stay in line. But they, at that level, do not stay in line to follow the parliamentary dictates or the dictates of the parliamentary committees and on Parliament itself. So how do we intend to deal with that? How do we how do we put those sticks in order?
Yeah, you're absolutely right again with that system. And sometimes I believe that it's important to come to the ranks to get a better understanding of those systems altogether, because I don't know if you would know, but I started in politics at the local government level. I started as a councillor on the Bartica Town Council, because of that, I had first-hand experience as to how the procedures from the ground right up. I didn't skip any step, so I know exactly how it is done. I had the privilege of working with at the office of the Prime Minister, so I had a hands-on approach also at that level. Now, yes, what you're saying is absolutely correct. The REOs, the regional executive officers, they are put there by the PPP. So, for example, I want to tell you right now, like, we would know, and the persons out there would say, well, the coalition, they have the one three regions outright, and so you have the regional chairman coming from the coalition, region 7, region 4, and region 10, right? What persons don't really understand is that within those regions, the person that is in charge of the spending and so forth is put there by the PPP. The REO is now put there by the government. So the spending within the regions that was won by the coalition is still being controlled by whomever the PPP put there to control those spending, and that is a system that is there right now. So it's not something, it's not as easy and as not as straightforward a person would want it to be. Not because you won, for example, I'm from region 7, not because the coalition won region 7 means that the coalition have full authority to do what it wants in region 7. Now you have an REO that the PPP puts there. The REO now feel that they are completely accountable and to the government of the day.
Hmm.
So I let me just I'll be very frank here. For example, REO in region 7, as I was just mentioning, the government ministers go to region 7 and they take the REO all over with them. If they want to announce something that is being done, they say, and the REO is going to do this and the REO is going to do that, and they pretend as though the regional chairman does not exist, because that is the nature of the beast that you're dealing with. And there's a lot of things that persons want to try. But the PPP, I guess I can wrap up that part by saying the PPP will do everything that they could once they are allowed to do it. And I can tell you, Region 7 is a different story altogether, because I'm from Region 7. I would be damned for the PPP to go to Region 7 and do what they want to do without me
Exactly.
having something to do about it, right? So they have gone in and they have done a whole lot of nonsense, but it will be up to persons like myself and the regional representatives, the political representatives, to say this is not going to be accepted. This will not be done, because a lot of the times, about the majority of the time, what the PPP does is bluff the way through. They go and say, oh, and this is how it should be done. And when you actually get down to the law that governs it, it's nothing of the sort. But because
Hmm.
persons don't know, they believe that, oh, the minister is saying this, so this must be true. But that's not how it works. You have to call them out. Branford, I was a child when we had certain people like Guilty Shearer and so forth. I call Guilty Shearer specifically because she's the PPP's representative with responsibility for Region 7, right?
Oh, nice to
So
know.
good. So when we have persons like Guilty Shearer, I was just a child in school when she was in Parliament, and you get and you grow up, I had to get to a point that Guilty Shearer is sitting across the desk from me for me to say, well, this woman really bluffed her way through, because there's certain things that she says that I come back and say, but that's not true. That doesn't make any sense. When you call them out on it now, their go-to card is like, I have been here for years. You need to listen and you need to learn this. You can't teach me anything. The only thing the people could teach me is to be corrupt, right? But as calm and collective as you want to be, there's sometimes you really got to be very, you got to get very tough when dealing with these people. And for Region 7 specifically, I can say this: the people got a lot of things coming to them when it comes to Region 7, because I am not going to allow Gail Teixeira and her team to just go in there and talk nonsense. At the end of the day, facts have to be presented. They went up there. The Gail Teixeira had 2 days in Region 7. PPP have it all over. DPI publishing every step that she take along the way. And they say, DPI posted a photo. Honorable Gail Teixeira is handing over a bus back to the community of Agatash, a bus that the school that was taken away from the community, that was used to transport school children, was taken away from the community under the APN UAFC. And those things are not things that you let just slide onto the table. So I responded to her, I made a statement to her, and I had to break down the process that says that what actually happened is that the community asked for the bus prior to 2016 with the local government election and all of that. The community had asked for a bus to be used to generate income for them to turn over for different projects and so forth. And at the end of it, we had a local government election, and they won that constituency 9. And so the constituency rep, which is their rep, the PPP rep, took possession of the bus and management of the bus, in which allegations were made that she was mismanaging and the bus was in a terrible state. And the APN UAFC administration said, you know what, let us put the bus in the hands of the education department. They're going to manage it and use it to take school children to school and so forth. So if you're not there to actually pull these people up every step of the way with their propaganda, they're just going to go, because persons would say right now, oh my gosh, why would a coalition take away a bus? Nothing of the sort. Absolutely nothing on the sort. But Gail Teixeira is going to go there and she's going to smile for the camera and she's going to say, oh, look, this is that. They went when the people protested in Region 7. The persons protested because they're putting an IMC in place. So you know the PPP is known for IMCs. They don't want any democratic process. They want to install persons that's going to do whatever they want to do. The people protested. They carry some bag with some hamper, share it out. I went personally and speak to the persons on the ground. The lady said, well, you know, they bring the thing and so it had Weeble in the thing, but you know, we want to say nothing because they're afraid of what the repercussion will be for calling out the people for their nonsense. We cannot allow ourselves to go back to that stage that we fear our own opinions. That's not the way in which we have to work. Bartico will not go back to that at all.
No, we the Barticians in diaspora will never allow that either. Never, never, never. Bartica's always been a place that has been over the years free of this racial divisive politics, and we're gonna force the issue to ensure it remains the same way until Christ comes. That's the way it's gonna be. I wanna as we've just got like 4 minutes left. I wanna ask, which constituency? I know you were from Region 7, but is Region 7 your constituency, or are you responsible for working with a constituency in Georgetown or some other place?
Specifically, I deal myself and Miss Dawn Hastings Williams. She is responsible for Region 7, overlooking Region 7 and Bartica's home. So my responsibility is to the people that empowered me to be where I am today. I'm a strong believer in never ever forgetting where you came from. I was born and raised in Bartica, and because of that, I'm the only person in Parliament that is from Bartica, and it is my responsibility to make sure that they are represented throughout the way. So overall, I work along with Ms. Hastings in Region 7 altogether. And Bartica, being, like I said, my home, is an area that I take very personal. And I can tell you that the PPP they have this aim that they're going to win Region 7. So because of that, they want to go in there all the time. And they're going to Region 10 also. trying to convince persons, and their narrative is that the coalition didn't do enough for you. People can't bring that level of trash talk to anybody in Bartica, because everybody that lives in Bartica knows that prior to 2015, you're falling down on the stelling because you got to hop up across the old boards. There's a brand new stelling there. We have the Third Avenue, the Golden Beach under the PPP was an eyesore. We have spick and span infrastructure set up at the Third Avenue Beach right now. Power issues in Bartica was protested by Barticians. It got to a point persons just couldn't take it anymore under the PPP. Brand new power plant in Region 7 in Bartica. We have so many things to be thankful for. The transformation within those 5 years in Bartica. The PPP cannot go and say anything negative about it. They never did anything for Bartica. And they would be damned, I'll be damned for the PPP to go in and claim anything at this point in time that is happening in Bartica. But Branford, I just want to close by saying it's the development that took place under the coalition was not just in the regions that the coalition had strong support in. I was in Region 2 on Sunday, and just looking around, when you look at the waterfront, the project that was done there, and so many other projects in Region 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. The transformation was so much. The coalition never looked to say that we're just going to look after the areas in which our supporters reside. They tried their best to make sure that all Guyanese are taken care of. And I want you to mark my word with this. Going forward, I believe for the next 2-3 years, the major projects that the PP will be commissioning are projects that were signed off under the APNU AFC administration, because the PP has no vision. I tell people this all the time. The PPP lacks vision. They don't know what to do and how to do it. The only thing the PPP knows to do is to knock glass with their business friends and partners and see who can make the most money and who could get a drawback from it at the end of the day. Poor people have no place under the PPP administration. And I'm not just saying poor people that support the coalition. I'm still speaking about poor people in general. Poor people in general in this country have no place under the PPP. The PPP don't care about poor people. And once we understand that as a nation, we will not put these people anywhere close to power at a local level or at a national level. We have to be wise. We have to realize that this is 2021 and our voices matter, our livelihood matter, and we are the ones that empower people to make decisions for us. And the only real persons that is going to make decisions that is going to benefit poor people in Guyana, the masses, and when I say poor people, I mean the majority of Guyanese. Let me just clarify that. The only administration that is going to take care of the majority of Guyanese is the APNU AFC coalition, and that is a fact. It is not disputable.
I am so happy. I am so happy that we have had this sit down together. I just have one recommendation. It's not a recommendation. One request of you, that when you go back to your meetings with your parliamentary colleagues in the opposition, that a plan is laid out that will ensure, because they say that education makes a poor man a millionaire, his knowledge, all right? A program that will ensure that all Guyanese, from the highest to the lowest, is given an opportunity to understand the functions and the functioning of Parliament and the parliamentary committees, so that Guyanese would not be dumb, or, sorry, wrong word, I retract that. Guyanese will not be as gullible as they most often are to swallow down hook, line, and sinker the fallacies that the PPP campaigners take to those communities whose members are not as educated as some others are in these regards. Because I believe that making the grassroots knowledgeable is the only way that we'll be able to conquer this kind of ignorance and corruption and so on that we see going on wholesale in the country. Your parting words, and then we let you go.
But you're so true. It education is very, very important, and I have to, I guess, in part, and what I have to do is commend you and the other persons like yourself who is making it their priority to get out there and to make sure that Guyanese are properly informed, and the propaganda that is being circulated from the PPP is not the only voices out there. So I must thank you and commend you for the work that you've been doing, and I encourage you to just hold strong and keep the faith. But when it comes to change, what I can say to your viewers, and which is I based on comments and so that coming from your viewership, we'll know that it is widely, the majority of them are supporters of the coalition. What I can say to those persons is this is a democracy. And I know for certain that no matter what the people do, no matter the level of corruption that they try at an election cycle, I want to challenge everyone from now, all Guyanese. It is our responsibility to go out there and not only keep ourselves informed, it is our responsibility to keep our family and friends informed as well. And we are going to get to another election. And at that election, it is our responsibility to make sure that we, each of us, become, and I think Mr. Granger had said it, we each become an election agent. We make sure that our entire family go out to the polls and all of those things. We will get through this phase. It is just temporary. We will get through it. I know persons are frustrated, and I understand the frustration, but we are not giving up no matter what. You are there to hold us accountable, and we are there to represent you. So you see us not doing enough, you call us out. You see us not going into the areas in which you want to see us, you call us out. We will answer to you because you are the ones that place us in the position to represent you. It is our responsibility to answer and heed your call. So I am very thankful for everyone that message me on a daily basis and say, well, I need you to do this and I need you to do that. A lot of persons sending information that you will be able to act on and so forth. Continue to do it. If you believe that something is not being done in the way in which you want it to be done, let us know. We are accountable to you. And once we hold forth and keep this process going strong, it is only a matter of time before we are back in office.
Thank you very much, the Honorable MP JURETHA. And by the way, am I saying the right thing, Fernandes or Fernandes?
It's different people pronounce it differently, so I don't take too much from it.
What's your pronunciation?
But I say that because I say Fernandes and my brother said Fernandez, so I'm like, you know what?
Okay.
It's whatever. It's whatever.
All right. You know what? Thank you very much. It was a privilege. It was an honor to have had this sit down with you. And I think Guyanese are the wiser for the discussion. We look forward to your continued service. I am so proud of my sister Bartitian. And I, kudos to you, flowers to you, roses to you. Keep doing what you're doing. And we've got your back. We are supporting you all the way. And we trust that God continues to guide you, protect you. And one day, you will end up being that gentleman's boss, So, hey, no weapon formed against you shall prosper, and you shall stand on the head of the snake, on the head of the serpent, one day very soon. Have a wonderful day. God's continued blessings to you and your children. Take care, stay safe, and keep your flag flying high. Keep Bartica on the map. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. All right, JURETHA Fernandes, Honorable MP out of Bartica, uh, very, very well spoken, um, very, very focused, balanced, calm, collective, measured, charming, stately, ladylike, class, classy. Those are all adjectives that we could use to describe her person and her demeanor. Um, we're happy that you tuned in. I just want to just bring to your attention again, we cannot overemphasize this. We cannot talk about it too much. The COVID-19 vaccine is meant, it was designed to protect you and I and your family members and everybody. Please, please go and take the vaccine. Guyanese, listen, it's time for us to stop joking around the place. It's time for us to stop monkeying around the place. We've got to get serious with COVID-19. People are dying every single day. And some of us are behaving as though we don't care. So let me inform you, if you don't know, that COVAX, and I was making the point on Facebook here a few days ago. Some people say the COVAX vaccine. The COVAX doesn't have a vaccine. COVAX is the organization that provides the vaccine. So Russia sent some 80-something thousand doses of the Sputnik vaccine to Guyana the other day. Take it. It's good for you. And now COVAX, the organization, has agreed to make available to Guyana 38,000 doses or shots of the AstraZeneca vaccine. Listen, with all these complaints around the place, I am sure that some family members of those who are deceased now are today saying, if we didn't know, we'll let go and take it, because the risk that you will supposedly take by taking the vaccine is far less, far, far, far less. It is minuscule. It is extremely minute to the risk you're taking of not being inoculated. And man, look, you can die. You can faster die from COVID-19 as a result of not protecting yourself against the virus than taking the virus. And now they're saying, the US government is saying, the British government is saying that they have done their research now, and even if people develop reactions, even if there are adverse side effects, they have now developed drugs that are designed to remedy that. So as soon as they notice that in you, that's why they have you sitting there for the 50 minutes. As soon as there's an indication that there's a side effect that is considered to be adverse, they administer whatever medication that needs to be administered to stabilize you and to get rid of that problem. So please, please go take the vaccine. And then please, if you're going outside, put on a mask, man. Stop being selfish. Protect your compatriots. Protect your compadres, man, from dying. Like I said, I've got friends who are now dead. And this one overnight has come home, has hit home real hard. Please go take the vaccine. Stop making styles. Stop being selfish. Stop being delusional. We're going to take tetanus vaccine. We never study how it comes. We're going to take yellow fever vaccine. We never ask the people what's going to happen if I take it. We're going to take smallpox, everything. But we're not asking questions. Somebody's asking a question, well, how come it comes so fast? How come they develop the vaccine so fast? Well, let me ask you a question. How come long ago you used to put on a line with a curve at the beginning and put 500 as the dividing factor? You're dividing 500 million by 500. It used to take people a whole minute to do this long division, as we say. Today you don't do that. Today you pick up the instrument, the computer, and make pick, pack, 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 pack. You get the answer. How come? Why don't you question that? How come long ago you used to take 2 days and 3 days to move from Georgetown to Bartik on a boat or whatever, and today you can meet from Purika to Bartika in as little as 45 minutes possibly. How come long ago a car used to take a whole day to travel from Georgetown to Linden, and today in 45-50 minutes you're in Linden? How come you're not questioning that? How come long ago you used to drive from town and wait till you reach the Linden to call somebody in Bartik on the phone, and today you can call somebody while you're walking, while you're driving? How come you're not questioning that? But you're questioning how come they've got a vaccine so fast? Technology. Come on, people. Stop being arrogant. Go take the vaccine. Please. Let's show the world that Guyanese have better sense than that. All right? Let's show the world that Guyanese have better sense than that. Let's show these people who have come up with all these foolish conspiracy theories that Guyanese are falling for them. We're better than that. We're more educated than that. We're more intelligent than that. We got common sense. And that can see us through even if there's not education to the highest level. Right? So please, go and take the vaccine, man. Go and take the vaccine. All right? Y'all have a wonderful day. I've got to go. It's 9:44 in the morning. And, people got to go do the work. People got to take other stuff to go take care of. It was good having you. Please, don't forget. Don't forget. Join the others who are helping us. Drop something on the kitty so that we can take care of the bills. Mr. Weeks is hitting home every day. Once the bill becomes due, he, boss bills. All right? You're not giving us anything. Me, at least, you're not giving. I'm working. You're not giving me anything. You are helping the program to stay on the air so that you can continue to be informed. All right? Thanks to those who have been giving. Thanks to those who have been helping us, our friends and our relatives and well-wishers. Thank you very much. This weekend, we're going to launch a GoFundMe. But we have to make some tweaks. I've got in touch with one donor to ask her blessings to divert some funds that she had sent for a specific project that we're not going to be able to do anymore. But this weekend, we're going to move forward with that. And it's going to last us for no more than a month. We're not dilly-dallying, going long, go along with this thing. 1 month, slam, bam, and done. People get what they're supposed to get. People are helped, and we move on. All right? Have a wonderful day. God's richest blessings to you. For now, until Friday morning, I'm out.